name is Caitlin Gibbs, and I'm the Associate Vice President of Social Action Services at the Hockomock Area YMCA. Over the last few years, our Y recognized that our staff, members, and communities were faced with unprecedented challenges. As we always do, our Y was determined to meet those needs. The Social Action Services Department was created to ensure that anyone who could benefit from our Y, food assistance, financial assistance, holiday help, or overall community resources and services would receive that support when they turn to our Y. The panel today includes our Association Director of Scholarship, Lynette Testa, and our Community Social Worker, Bryn Kerwin. Featured in another episode will be Allison Centrella, Director of Food Access. This dream team works tirelessly to meet the needs of anyone who needs the Y. I am proud to work alongside them every day, and I hope you enjoy the episode.
Welcome to the fourth edition of the Hockomock Area YMCA Celebrating Our Impact. Today we are going to be talking about something that years ago was never part of the YMCA. Maybe it was to a small degree, but certainly not to the degree that it is now, which is kind of sad, but the YMCA is stepping up. Joining us is Caitlin Gibbs, the Associate Vice President of Social Action Services. To her left is Lynette Testa, the Association Scholarship Director, and to her left, Bryn Kerwin, the Community Social Worker. Let's start, all three of you. Tell us a little bit about yourself, your background at the YMCA. I know your background at the Y, and what is your current role here at the Hockomock Y?
So my Y background, I was a Y kid. I was introduced to this Y at 8 years old, and I never really left it. So I continued to be a camp participant, program participant. Right as soon as I turned 16, started working here, camp counselor. Those were the best years of my life. And then right out of grad school, an opportunity to do some childhood obesity work. And that was about 15 years ago. And now I have the ability to lead anytime there's a new community need or we need to kind of change and pivot to what the community needs. I get to work with an amazing team, including these ladies and others, with our new Social Action Service initiative.
Lynette, how about you?
Well, before I became a Y staff person, I was a member, coming here with 3 kids in tow, putting them in child watch to get a much needed workout for the day. So the North Attleboro branch was kind of my daily escape from being a stay-at-home mom for a little while. When my youngest went to school, I applied and was hired here. I've been here 10 years as Association Scholarship Director, and I get to help people become part of our Y family. And now my Y kids are part of the staff too, and they're camp counselors, so it's full circle for me.
From generation to generation. Bryn, how about you?
So I am not a Y kid. Prior to this, I did a lot of different work with different populations as a social worker, and I just recently joined this team in January of this year, 2022. And to be honest, prior to coming to the Y, I didn't realize how much the Y had as outside of childcare, the gym, and camp. So now being part of this team, it's been actually really rewarding to see.
Social Action Services. Caitlin, tell us about SAS, as it's called here at the Y. I know the pandemic was certainly key, and why is it so vital to not only to the Y, but to especially the community?
Sure. So a little bit of the backstory of how Social Action Services came about. So a big part of that was our food access initiative. So starting in 2016, we became a sponsor of a USDA meal program. So that allowed us to offer meals during the summer for all children 18 and under to close the gap, the nutrition gap, when school is not in session. So we did that for a few summers, averaging about 13,000 meals a summer, which was fantastic at the time. And then as soon as the pandemic hit in very early March 2020, our former colleague, Mary Kate Bergen, who was a really great anti-hunger advocate, said, we've got to use our position and try and help during school closure. At the time, we thought it was 2 weeks. So we were able to mobilize very quickly our program to start offering meals during the school day for remote learning and during closure. And that year, we were able to serve over 150,000 meals compared to that 13,000. And through that, the very first distribution at our branch came out of our food access food drive. So we were running that drive to then give back to local communities and to the school districts. And we were able to kind of take that food and give out grocery bags. So the very first distribution was March 18th. We have not missed a Wednesday since. So we've been giving out food now every Wednesday for over 2.5 years. We learned that people needed a lot more than just food. And so the more they became comfortable with our team, the more they became comfortable with our Y and other colleagues, we very quickly noticed they need different services. They're opening up to us, in these relationships really were important to them. We were learning the other struggles. We were learning about homelessness. We were learning about some heavy stuff like domestic abuse and some mental health issues. So that really is where social action services came out of. We couldn't necessarily be the experts, and we still can't, but with the addition of Bryn, with some changes to financial assistance, with some expansion to food access, we're able to really be kind of a safety net for families and connect them to anything they need, whether it's in the Y or outside of the Y. So it's really one of those silver linings of the pandemic. We wish we didn't have to help people as much as we do, but we're really glad that we can.
We should note that this is not an elaborate set at North TV. We are actually on location, and you might hear some noise from time to time. That's because this is summer camp. There's over 1,000 kids attending camp this week, and you can't smell it, but I can. The baking camp is 3 doors down. They're cooking baking, so you may hear my stomach growl from time to time. Lynette, take us through financial assistance. How would someone apply, and how are applications processed each year?
Okay, so right away I'll go to the second question. We have almost 800 applications we've received thus far this year, and that's a 130% increase from last year. So there is a real need and desire for people to be part of our Y family. With regard to our financial assistance, we've always had a scholarship program, but to just piggyback what Caitlin was explaining, through the pandemic, we had a real desire to simplify the process. So our financial assistance program is now called A Place for All, which is a great name because that is what our Y is all about, people coming to us. And it is a new application that we rolled out last year, where basically people can still get the financial assistance they need to have a membership programs, childcare and camp. But again, through the pandemic, we saw that people were coming to us for a lot more than just getting a membership. So we expanded our services that someone can apply for financial assistance. We can handle that, but there's also a needs assessment section on that application so that we, right at the beginning of the Y journey, can connect someone to Bryn when they select community-based resources, or someone that might need some help with integration in our initiative, or food access. So right away, someone is walking out of our branch with a membership, programs discounted like we always did, but they are being connected, and so they're hopeful to be able to get other services way above membership and programs.
A Place for All. Now, I remember years ago when I worked at the Hockomock Area YMCA, the annual drive was Reach Out for Youth and Families. Has that been replaced by A Place for All, or does that still exist?
So our campaign is called the Reach Out campaign, and that is raising monies for our scholarship program, subsidies, all the other initiatives we have. Basically, our A Place for All program is a scholarship program, but instead of it just encompassing membership for all, we wanted it to be more. So it's also someone walks into our branch and they're walking out with a membership and programs at a discount.
Which leads to the very big question, Caitlin. How is this all funded?
So you're very familiar with our Reach Out campaign, but that's our annual campaign to make sure that we can do all the things that Lynette just mentioned in terms of scholarship program subsidies. So In addition to the campaign part, where we're actively, proactively, intentionally, asking donors, community partners to, contribute philanthropically, we also have, really been intentional about the events. So we have a lot of events that will also support our annual campaign. Our department itself, so Bryn's programming and our food access programming, is also a part of Reach Out. So when we go out and tell our why story, we're also telling the story about social action services and food access. Last year, we gave out over $2.1 million, and there's a gap between the need and what we raise. So we will continue to push forward to make sure we continue to never turn anyone away from our why programs.
This is somewhat of a curveball, but before we started recording, we were talking about, and all three of us agreed, when you think of North Attleboro, when you think of the communities that the Hockomock Area YMCA serves, your first thought is, well, there isn't that need, but there is that need.
There is. So we have 15 communities that we work with and have a big presence here in North Attleboro. And I think especially over the last couple of years with the pandemic, and a bunch of different community partners coming together to focus on food insecurity and social service needs, folks are surprised at the level of need. Right now, food insecurity amongst school-age families is at an all-time high in North Attleboro. And, mental health, food insecurity, housing, it's not discriminating during the pandemic. So the demographics of who needs our help has changed over the last decade and especially over the last 2 years. So, anyone who's watching, I would tell them there are pockets of it everywhere, and there is a very high need to support our own community members in North Attleboro.
Bryn, talk to us about how someone could be helped through your role here at the Y.
Sure. So with referrals coming, I get them either from our A Place for All applications, or I get a lot of outreach from schools, kids that might need extra support to be connected to outside resources, counseling services, family services. I get referrals internally from our own staff. So I'm there to help be an extra support to them in regards to connecting them to resources with whether it's housing, counseling services, rental assistance, finding different programs out there that can be assistance for them. A lot of the time, families, parents, grandparents are overwhelmed and they just need that help navigating how to find these resources out there.
I know how important confidentiality is in these programs. Even within the Y, there are some directors or someone working with a child in camp. They don't know this person's on scholarship. They don't know this person's getting assistance. So keeping the confidentiality, no names. Can you give me an example of how a particular person or family has been helped through the program?
Sure. So right when I came, the Y prior to when I came had helped a grandmother who was left with her granddaughter because the biological mother had upped and left her. So the Y prior to I came quickly helped her get her granddaughter into programming and enrolled in school and did amazing work. On my end, I was able to help the grandmother navigate the legal part of it all because she still needed legal guardianship of her granddaughter. So I was able to help her navigate how the court system worked and get her that documentation. And it's still going through, but I've been guiding her. It can be scary. But with my past experience working in that type of field, I was able to be that support to her and also help her with navigating the different behaviors this child might be going through, the trauma she's experienced. As a grandmother, you don't really understand sometimes, and so I've been able to support that.
The Y has come a long way since a place to learn how to swim, or basketball on Saturday mornings as it was when I was a kid. Caitlin, most rewarding moment for you? Is there one?
So I would say it's hard to pick one maybe situational moment, but I think as someone who has seen the Y, and I've gone from that 8-year-old to now a mother myself, and my family is part of the Y, I think for me it's rewarding when I see that we're able to help the community no matter what they need. And we're talking a lot about the pandemic because we're very lucky that our department was able to help a lot of folks through the pandemic, but those first few days were not easy in the pandemic, and they're still not. But to see us as a team, to see us as a Y, to see us as a community come out of the pandemic stronger and be there for families, it's not one moment, but I think in all my years of being part of the Y, I've never been more proud to know what we're doing for the community.
Lynette, how about you?
When I was thinking about this, what I do every day is so rewarding. But I think the most rewarding experiences I have seen in the last 10 years comes around the holidays through our annual Giving Tree program that we run here at the Y. It's gone from a very small program to a very large program. We're able to make the holidays a little brighter for families that might not have the means to be able to do that. One specific case happened this past Christmas. Another grandparent having custody of their 4 grandchildren with very, very limited means came to us. And the backstory is they would have not been able to provide for their grandchildren, but I'm happy to say that Santa was able to bring a lot of gifts to those grandchildren, and it's all because why?
Santa's quite a guy, isn't he? Bryn, you talked about the grandmother that you were able to help. Any other stories stick out?
Yeah, I think as a social worker, you go into the field wanting to help people, and when you're faced with a lot of barriers, that can be hard, and lack of resources. So I feel most fulfilled when I'm able to actually get the services that these families need, and able to connect them to what they came to me for. So there's been a few times that I've been able to do that.
Lynette, we've talked about fundraising, how important that is. We've talked about the confidentiality of the scholarships. Why is it so important to the Y's mission and to the communities that the Hockomock Y serves?
So I always give the example that our traditional financial assistance works great. What I explained before, very quick and easy for someone to come to us and have a membership programs and the needs they need to be connected with. But I also look at community outreach is what we do every day, where it's more than just receiving an application. It's being told that a dad committed suicide and a mom has children and she has to work and we need to help. And that's where we don't ask questions, we just help, and we do what it takes to make the lives of that family as normal as possible. And so that is what's so rewarding about what we do. We're seeing the need, we're not asking questions, we're just doing what needs to be done.
I can't imagine the swing of emotions during a day. You hear a story like that, you're approached by someone who needs help, but then the sense of gratitude walking out of the building at the end of the day, knowing that you not only help someone, but you probably just changed the lives of those young children.
And those are the words we use. We literally have the ability to impact people's lives every single day.
Social Action Services. Looking at the future, Caitlin, what excites you?
You're catching me a little emotional right now because it really is emotional stuff, and I am super proud to work with the team that gets to change those lives. But thinking about the future, this is a new, the things that we're doing, they're not necessarily brand new, but kind of the brand of Social Action Services, that is new. So I think for me, it's the more we do this, we're finding that there's so many groups, organizations, agencies that also want to do this work and that we can collaborate with. And the word collaborate is big at RY, but I think when it comes to social action services and social supports and food insecurity, mental health, I think the ability to know that there's a lot of groups out there that we can work with and continue to just make an impact is what's most exciting for me. So it's not cookie cutter, there's no blueprint, there's no roadmap. RY hasn't done it yet. So that I think is what is really exciting for RY.
Lynette, I mentioned earlier, you talked about dropping the kids off or having help with the kids while you were able to work out. I mentioned learning how to swim, basketball at the Y. Now we're talking about social action services. The Y has and continues to evolve, and that's what's so important. Looking at the future, what excites you?
So I think back to March 2020, and Caitlin and I were together through those like dark days a lot when we were closed and we were going through the pandemic, trying to feed people and help people. And I always use the example of, we used to say 2021, we're going to get through this and we're going to change everything. And from March 2020 to July 2022, it is amazing what we've done so far. Just changing how we're helping people, connecting people, having Bryn. So we've come so far, but then we sit down and we're impatient people and we want to do so much more, and we have to take a step back and say, wow, we've done a lot, we have a lot more to do, but we're gonna get there. So I guess I'm just excited about everything that is to come.
Bryn, what excites you about the future?
I think it's no-brainer that we're in a mental health crisis, and there's a lot of lack of resources. And I think being new to this association, I've already seen the amazing work they've already done, and I'm excited to see the growth of what more we can do, because there's a lot of people that I've worked with that feel safe to come here and turn to us for help. So I think if the more we grow and are able to offer, I'm excited to see that.
This isn't a game show, but I feel like I'm about to ask you a game show type question. What words or phrases would you use to associate with the Y, specifically when it comes to your work? We'll begin with you, Lynette.
We receive very humble scholarship thank yous every day. Someone who's received financial assistance and they are inclined to send us a few words and sometimes even a little donation of $5, $1 to pay it forward. But those thank yous are amazing. And one I will always remember. It basically said, I was in despair, but I'm not hopeless anymore. And so when I thought about what we do every day, we give people hope. And I think that's what today in the world everyone needs, a little bit of hope.
Bryn, how about you?
I would have to piggyback off of Lynette, and also I think impact. We make a impact on a lot of people's lives, and we're a safe place to come to, and I'm proud to be a part of it.
I feel like I should be writing these on a whiteboard. Caitlin, how about you?
So I had a few, and I'm going to totally change it after just sitting here. So for those of us that have been a part of the Y for a while, we'll remember our beloved friend, Mr. Tony Calcia, and just the phrase uncrumpled. So people come to us crumpled, and they are lost, and they are in despair, and they need help. And years ago, Tony told us that they leave, and he had a paper airplane, and he flew it across the room, and he said, we help them soar, and they become uncrumpled. And I think it spoke to us then, but it's definitely speaking to us now, because we're helping them walk out our doors, our programs, just in life, a little bit less uncrumpled.
It's impossible to talk about the Y and impact without bringing up the name Tony Calcia, that's for sure. Final question. Bryn, I'll start with you. Why should children and families get involved at the Hockomock Area YMCA? If this program's not going to get them involved, I don't know what will, but why should they?
I mean, it's a community. It's almost like a big family, and prior to myself, I was very naive about it, and prior to coming, I just thought it was your, like I said, your gym, your daycare, your camp, but it's so much more. And I think just to have friendly faces, and it's like it's a family.
Lynette?
You speak of Tony. I've talked to Tony years ago about this idea that I had about, I always saw the Y as a place where everyone knows your name, kind of like the old TV show. So you walk into the branches, you're greeted by your name. You come to our food distribution, you ask the senior who had a doctor's appointment how it went last week. They're part of our family. They know that they're safe here. They meet friends here. They get healthy here. It's their escape.
And Caitlin?
We have and we are something for everybody. So someone, might just come in for swim lessons, but I'm confident that once they leave those swim lessons, those children, the adults taking swim lessons, they're getting much more than that. The senior who just needs a little bit of socialization isn't just getting a yoga class, they're leaving with a sense of friendship and, to Lynette's point, everybody knows their name. You get involved because you come here and you will leave feeling better, whether you're a participant, a scholarship recipient, a program volunteer, a board member. The reward ends up being so much more than anyone can imagine.
We addressed camps in the Hockomock Area YMCA's number of camps at all the branches, etc. But one of the things that stuck out in my mind when I was looking at camp while we were setting up is one of the camp counselors, I guess, on the back of the shirt, role model, and how important that must be for a child to not only see this person they look up to, but read the fact that this is a role model. The impact you guys make on kids is incredible. Keep up the good work.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. 50 years of the Hockomock Area YMCA. We've looked at and discussed 4 subjects. We'll have another subject coming up next month. Thank you for watching.